Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Langeministudio that can be found on Instagram, as well as Kilk, who can be found on TikTok as well as Twitter.
Or at least starting down that road, right? So now we have somebody who's agreed to go with us, he looks at Gilfickel's betrayal as somebody going and doing their own thing, right? Gilfickel's just decided he needs to go do something himself. Okay, cool. I'll see you later.
I don't feel
Nick's betrayal is totally different.
I don't feel. Well, he did poison Toy Bar.
He poisoned me, but it was a paralyzing thing that went away after like 5 minutes.
I don't want you to talk me out of this decision, basically,
Right.
type thing.
Okay, because I was wondering, can we talk about that for a sec? Toy Bar, you resurrected Gilfickel by saying...
Correct.
So, he came back with only you as a friend. Everybody in the party, he's kind of like, hey, who are you?
Which is why he's not adventuring with us anymore.
Which is why
because he doesn't trust the party.
Correct. Okay, cool. But now that it was Toy Bar, Yael, the General of Wrathgreth, and Toy Bar were there, and he just poisoned. Poisoned.
It was a harmless poison as far as Toy Bar is concerned.
Where you were paralyzed.
Yeah.
For like 5 minutes, so that it gave him enough time to leave and move on.
Yeah, and then he bounced out.
Yes.
And he explained his plan at that. He
he kind of monologued.
Yeah, he monologued a little bit. He told us why, but Toy Bar looks at that as like, oh, he just paralyzed me for like 5 minutes. Oh, that's a goofy prank, and it got him away. Okay, I'll see him again. He's my buddy. He didn't hurt me, but Nick's character has basically wronged me as far as Toy Bar is concerned. One, he hit him. Like even Merrick has never hit Toy Bar.
Yeah. Merrick has never gotten physical.
Not only that, but he critical hit you, and
he crit.
And he crit, and
I broke my rib.
Yeah, I used the lingering injuries optional roll, so he rolled on the thing and broke a literal rib.
Yeah, and now he's stolen from Toy Bar. So now something bad, like really bad, has happened to Toy Bar from somebody in his party. So now there's a high possibility that he starts taking on darker powers.
Yeah, because you've got a literal physical injury, and now you have a moral injury from the theft.
Yeah.
All from the same character.
Correct.
So would Toy Bar turn more dark towards his outlook on life, or just towards that one character?
Well, that's going to depend, right? It's really going to depend on how that character evolves and how the rest of the party interacts with that character. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If Toy Bar starts feeling betrayed, I guess I'll say this: I'm going to use the moment when he realizes it's gone and that it's been stolen as his awakening moment.
Oh, okay. I like that.
And it's going to be a rage moment.
Rage is not something we've seen from Toy Bar since essentially America's.
I don't think we've ever seen rage out of Toy Bar. We've seen a couple serious moments, but
you saw him serious with Baba Yaga.
Yeah, you got serious with Baba Yaga
because he respected her power.
Magic. Exactly.
And I did say a cool line during our session where I said, everybody teaches Toy Bar magic.
Yeah, that was the way you said that, and the fact that Toy Bar got serious. It was like just for me looking at that when Toy Bar got serious and said everybody teaches Toy Bar. Yeah, I was actually creeped out for a sec.
So if you haven't noticed something,
what the heck?
And there's a lot of times I keep a lot of things to myself about my character, unless I tell Nathan, right? Nathan, like when I told you that Toy Bar hasn't cast a damage spell since we went into Avernus.
Correct.
I was toying with the character at that point to whether or not go more to the dark side of, if Wrathgreth offered him magic power, would he just be like, sure, let's fucking do it. So Toy Bar's a very interesting character to me. He's evolving as the story goes, and that's what I like. I'm not forcing the way that I think the character should be. Toybar is developing as the things happen to him. So if Nick had never stolen this thing, he would have been annoyed that this dude hit him, right? But he probably would have brushed it off as, oh, like, you know, this guy's already crazy talking about the betrayer and stuff, but like, you know, don't do that again. But he hit him, and now he's stolen from me.
He won't even like address like Xingxi, the former character, now major NPC in the world, by his name, just because he's playing in quotations a relative, or I think because he realized the time frame or whatever I mentioned. I said it was his brother because that's what he had led on to.
Yeah,
and he's playing the brother of Xingxi.
Yeah, so we'll see how Toybar develops. But one thing that you guys, I don't know if you haven't noticed yet, is every time Toybar has asked somebody to teach him spells or magic or something, they do it. There's not been a single time where somebody said no. They gave him a spell, they gave him, or except for maybe the other satyr where I paid for a scroll, but they still did it. So I've gotten it every time. And I'm incorporating that into my character. Not necessarily, now that you've said that I am this like immortal being, this Fafnir thing, and that magic has come and found me as being one of those, you know, like one in a bajillion people.
Yeah.
I am trying to take that a little bit to heart into having a way to make people teach me something. Whether it's something minute as Chernobog giving me, what was it? Inflict wounds or something as a scroll.
12 inflict wounds, yes.
Yeah. The person who says no to Toybar is not going to be on Toybar's good side. We'll put it that way. So
what's that gonna be like?
It's gonna be fun. It's what it's gonna be like.
I think when the time comes, especially with the route you guys have chosen and who you guys are headed towards, and maybe not Silvera, but Xingxi, I think that's probably, depending upon how you guys handle that, that's probably going to be the first person that tells Noi to Tobar.
Oh, Xingxi, if I tell him to teach me magic?
Yeah.
But Xingxi's a brute fighter. He's not like a magic dude. If he say no, I don't know magic, he's going to go, oh, okay. Unless he sees you're lying to him.
No, he knows his breath weapon, and then he knows like a couple like little lightning things. That's about it, just because he's Blue Dragon.
Right, but he's not a mage, right?
No,
but he's a god. Like Chernobog's not really a mage either. But
he does basically have our world's version of the Eye and Hand of Vecna, and that has some nasty things.
I am really interested to see what the Eye of Odin.
Eye of Odin, and because in a previous campaign somebody gave up their hand to the Well of Murmur in Norse mythology, the Hand of Azazel, which is actually the first satyr in our campaign setting.
Right, the Eye, yeah, because our Hand of Vecna and Eye of Vecna are the Hand of, I apologize, the Hand of Azazel and the Eye of Odin.
Yeah.
Now, in Norse mythology, Odin gave up his eye for wisdom?
Yeah.
Or was it knowledge of runes?
I'd have to look that
Either way.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see, Nate, how you do this transversion of the Eye of Vecna into the Eye of Odin. You now have confirmed that this exists in our world and someone has it.
Yeah.
Because in traditional rules, the Eye of Vecna, you put it in your eye socket and you get all these crazy abilities. But you also have the chance of Vecna taking you over.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to wait and see how Xingxi utilizes it.
Yeah.
But he's already got a god in him. Right? He's possessed by Tesmagosa. So is he even Xingxi right now, or is he Tesmagosa?
Oh, I did explain it to Nick. I'm like, it's like that scene in Ghostbusters with the terror dogs with Dana and Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're like, I am no longer Dana, only Zool.
Only Zool. Yeah, the gatekeeper and the keymaster. And the keymaster. Yeah. So, yeah, that's an excellent question. What happens when... It's almost like an unstoppable force and an immovable object.
Yeah.
When they slam together, what happens? And if it happens in one person, does that person cease to exist? And what takes its place? Or does that person still exist and become a conglomerate of those powers? And then what happens?
Exactly.
I'm kind of terrified because I would rather fight Rathgrith now than this guy.
Right.
When I gave you guys basically the two paths that are probably ahead, unless you guys really chose like path C in your own agenda, I'm surprised. I felt that you guys were climbing up the higher mountain as opposed to the high mountain, but I felt you guys were climbing the Everest. Like, oh, you're going after it has 3 artifacts. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little wild, especially when Chernobog's like, I'm not going after that guy. Like, screw that. That guy's crazy strong.
So
it was interesting.
And that's also the thing to where I'm worried about going after another player's former character. Like, how would I feel if this group decided to go kill Dominjarl, my previous character? So that's why when I asked him, I was like, hey, are you okay with this? He's like, oh yeah, screw that guy.
He loves Xingshi. Like, don't let him fool you. He loves Xingshi. That's his favorite character he's ever made. But I think this is a way for him to move beyond that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this could be a way for him to move beyond the Xingshi. Because when I think about D&D and I think about Nick, I think Xingshi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I know that just real quick, I'll tie up the Toy Bar stuff. Toy Bar will, once he realizes that his Infernal Puzzle Box is gone, he will have that awakening moment into the Vafni. And then whether or not Toy Bar goes good, bad, or indifferent really will just depend on what happens to the rest of the story, right? I like to allow the story to tell the story rather than force some things onto the story itself. And I think that, and that's how I've played Toy Bar, right? If you think about it, when Toy Bar became Shadow Touched, that was because he got bit by the vampire. So I chose Shadow Touched on my next thing.
Yeah, Walden.
Yeah, and that, so I'm trying to allow the story to mold Toy Bar from what he was into what he will be. And I think the Vafni thing is really cool because it allows Toy Bar to continue to learn what he wants, his magic, and then eventually apply that into creating his own reality. And that's assuming he gets that strong, right? The other thing is, and I had this thought and I kind of said it out loud during our session, Nathan, was imagine if every wild mage becomes a Vafni, but they all die early, so they never realize their final potential in this world, right? That's why they're able to cast magic and do crazy things, is because, according to the thing, it's basically like a living magic spell that the Vafni created before they left to find other people who were good enough. So like there's living magic searching for people out there in the 9 realms to turn it into, to showcase that they are part of this race.
And I do want to do a side tangent with this. Those ideas, especially for you and Tove with like these ancient races, came about. Was it? It's probably about 3 or 4 sessions ago, maybe a couple months back, when you and me were talking after session. Everybody had left, and we're talking about our love for Babylon 5. And
I love that show.
Good show.
Yeah,
one of my all-time favorites.
We're talking about how all the ancient races had left and I still don't know the names of them, but the shadow race and the plant race, and all the ancient races had left besides those 2. And that just like stuck in my mind, and it's just like I wanted to find something that kind of fit Toy Bar. And then when I found the stuff for like Cove with the world tree and the elementals, and just like, hey,
that's really cool.
Ancient spirit has chosen you to kind of like represent them. and then you'll eventually get to join them, and the energy, this like, because the world tree is a very, not to sound like Star Wars, but it's like the Force. It's a very energy based thing that holds everything together and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, all of the roots of Yggdrasil that touch all the 9 realms, and theoretically beyond. So yeah, Tove was talking to me about the idea of Yggdrasil, and she was wondering how much that would override her character.
Yeah.
And I said it wouldn't. That you could still play your character the way you want.
Oh, yeah.
And so now when it comes to this campaign, kind of like how Toy Bar is just growing as a character as events happen, Tove could do the same thing.
Yeah.
And with Merrick becoming the sort of onslaught for certain everything, that was kind of like an obvious thing looking at the character. But with the idea that I had with Merrick, I could do. I was using Darth Vader as an archetype,
who's the sort of the emperor, basically.
Kinda, yeah. Exactly. But now I get to take that character, Merrick, with the idea of Darth Vader as like an archetype, move beyond it.
Yeah.
And what does Cert now want from me to where I'm in the last campaign, or the last session? I made the joke of, what is thy bidding, my master? It's kind of the same thing. To where, okay, what does Cert expect from Merrick? And what does Merrick need to do to move forward with his own objective? To where I'm going to just give you guys a heads up. In the back of Merrick's mind is the idea of killing Cert.
Yeah.
That's always there. So if Merrick decides to kill Cert, what if Merrick becomes the Lord of Muspelheim? Now, granted, that's like way, 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 way out there.
You have to take that spark from Rathgrid.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was Cert's in the first place. So what That's why Merrick asked, how do you transport a spark of, say, Texmagosa to Cert for his side quest? What if I kill Rathgrith and take her spark that used to be Cert's and take it into myself and tell Cert the world doesn't need you anymore, you're gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your character is very interesting to me, right? The Merrick character is just really cool because he contrasts with Toy Bar a lot. So it offers us a lot of fun interactions. And I think us, like, next time, I think we should just do like a deep dive into Merrick and like talk about his character in depth and stuff like that, because it's fun to get it out there. Like, there are obviously some things that we're like holding back from each other for our character specifically. And it's cool to get into the weeds on those. I really like talking about the characters in general. So and I feel like we talk about Toy Bar a lot because you're so shenanigans filled.
But I'm sure as this podcast continues to grow, people want to know more about the characters that we're playing or the setting we're playing, and I'm sure people want to know about Merrick and what, as a player, what does this player have in store for him?
Yeah, man, even I don't know sometimes. To where I originally I went in looking like, what is a Dark Jedi or a Sith Lord? How could I play that in D&D? But I feel that Merrick has evolved beyond that to where now he's coming his own idea. And I love that idea about the characters and how you can grow as the campaign goes on. Your idea of where you start at level 1, when you get to level 10 or 20, you look back on it and it's completely different.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that about, no matter what edition you're in, your experiences with your DM, with your players, with the story, all that fun stuff. It changes your idea, and that character almost takes on a life of its own, and it becomes something, maybe part of what you are, but its own entity.
Yeah.
And it almost gets a life of itself, and it becomes its own thing that now sticks with you. I'm getting dramatic here, but the rest of your life. I remember my first character when I first started D&D way back in early aughts, 20s. I still remember that character. I remember the character art. I remember everything about it. But now, as a more experienced player, DM, and all of that, I have grown as a person. I have grown as a DM and a player. I would have played the character differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that also leads as a good segue into the next section of like a couple of like questions from like because I have been like, now that we are a couple episodes deep into this podcast, I've been asking people for feedback and viewers of what they think, or like, oh, what questions do you want to ask us? And one of them is, what is like the earliest memory that we have of D&D, or what got us into it? What like pop culture thing got us like, oh, I kind of want to play this. Like, do you guys remember that moment? Because I certainly do.
I do.
Oh, I do.
Absolutely.
Like, I'll go first. Like, for me,
Yeah.
It was about around the holidays of 2008. I had watched on YouTube, because it was for free in sections on there, the movie, and I had to give Zombie Orpheus. I can't remember if it's Zombie Orpheus Entertainment or how it's pronounced. The Gamers 2 Darkness Rising.
Darkness Rising, yes.
That movie got me into D&D and how they kind of showed each of the characters. It is a independent fan. Oh, it's made by them, and
yes.
I feel it really does very like shows players back like 15 years ago how they played. It's changed since then, but it's what got me into like saying to my ex at the time, a couple of my cousins, and a friend or two, like, hey, I want to check out this game. And at the time it was 4th edition. You say what you say with the naysayers. I didn't know any better, blah, blah, blah. But, I want to check out this game. I want to see what this is about. Do you guys want to join me? So it was around the holidays. A couple months later, tax time came. I bought all 3 books.
Nice.
I expected to be a player at first, and then everybody's like, well, we're not running. I'm not running. And I expected the one person that I thought was, who ended up being a rules lawyer, to want to play. But he's like, I want to run it. That's because, I'm like, okay. And I ended up being the one that ran. And since then, I ran.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. So that's kind of where you jumped at the Fallout campaign that I did.
Yeah.
You want to be a player.
Yeah.
Well, you will be for the next two. Hopefully, when we do this, hopefully we do your setting justice, because I'm a little nervous about that. So I'm probably gonna be running a lot of things by you when I do.
Oh yeah.
Same here. I have a Svartalfheim campaign, and it's for those who don't know, it's the Dark Elves. Yes, in Forgotten Realms, it's the Underdark with the Dark Elves and everything. Drizzt not going to show up. But I will be running a bunch of stuff by Nate so that I do his campaign justice, and it fits in.
Just realized with my setting, though, I reversed the roles. The Light Elves are the slavers. The Dark Elves were the slaves.
Bang.
And that's what
I need to write that down. Where's my pen? So yeah, that's fantastic. With my first introduction to D&D, D&D was way back in early 2000s. I was walking around I'm going to date myself here, a Hastings, CDs and pop culture stuff. I was walking through, kind of. I was walking through the book section, and I saw the 3.5 Player's Handbook. I pulled it out and I went, hey, what is D&D? I grew up in the Satanic Panic. Everybody was evil and they were on drugs. Whatever.
Listening to that rock music?
Oh, my grandmother was the same way. Yeah, she's passed since then, but when she found out I was playing D&D, apparently my uncle played back in the 80s, and he played a thief, and she burnt his books because it was the Satanic Panic time, and the game was teaching him how to steal in real life.
Oh wow.
But anyways, back to your story.
Yeah,
Unfortunate.
no, that's crazy. But no, I got the 3.5 book handbook. I was flipping through it in the store, and all of a sudden this guy walks by, and I recognize him as the guy that I went to school with. He was maybe a year or two ahead of me in high school, and he looked up and he said, "Oh, hey, I see what book you're reading. Do you play?" And I said, "No, I'm just interested in the book," and I was flipping through the characters and everything. And he goes, "Well, I run a game and we have a couple of, we can let people play." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested, but I don't know anything." And he said, "Hey, it's cool. We can give you dice. We can do all that for you.
Did you
Just show up."
Did you know Tove at the time?
No. Oh, wait,
Oh.
no, I did. We were dating at the time. We weren't married yet.
Yeah.
So we were just dating. It was my first year in college. I want to say 2003, 2004 ballpark.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it. I'm old. But I said, I kind of hem-hawed about it, and I said, "You know what? Fine, sure." And I just bought the book. And knowing that I was going to go in and play with these people that I'd, again, like I said, they were a couple of years ahead of me in high school. I wanted to be the cool kid. I wanted to be like, "Hey, I don't want to hold these guys back."
Yeah.
So then I actually nerded out and read the book from cover to cover.
The player's handbook?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
3.5 player's handbook.
The 3.5 heavy rule book.
Oh my god.
Holy.
4th edition and 5th edition are so much better than 3.5.
At least rules wise.
Rules wise. However, I walked into that first setting and let me back up. I knocked on his door and his mom answered the door. "Oh, you live with your mom and dad? Okay, cool." And she goes, "Hey, are you here for the game?" "Yeah, I am." "Okay." So they said, "Yeah, go ahead and go downstairs." And I went downstairs and it was full on ping pong table, books everywhere, pen and paper, dice, everything. And everyone was talking about their characters. And my DM, shout out to Clint Krause, who is Red Moon Medicine Show. He made his own games. Don't Walk in Winterwood, and then a bunch of stuff for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He's on like Drive-Thru RPG and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he made his own game, Don't Walk in Winterwood.
Really?
Super good, super awesome guy.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, he introduced me to the game and he said, "Hey, this is Brent. He's a new player, never played before." Everybody was super awesome. Amy, Isaac, Mike, Joe, guys, you guys got me into this. I respect the hell out of you. You're amazing people. They sat down and they said, "Hey, let's make you a character." And I said, "Well, hey, can you look at mine? I've already made one." And they looked at me and went, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's take a look at this." And they looked at it and I made my first character, which was a ranger. Back in 3.5, rangers were good. Everyone gives 5th edition rangers shit, but I believe 5th edition rangers are good.
They were a little underpowered at first, but when they got errated and tweaked.
Yeah.
I'll give the 5th edition naysayers so at the very beginning.
You are 100% correct.
Sidebar with that sidebar.
100% correct. But that was my first session, was with a human ranger, and they took me in and I sat on a ping pong table playing with these guys, and that's how I got Tove involved. We were dating at the time, and I said, "Hey, these guys are cool. We're interested in the same things. Do you want to be in?" Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're cool. And so then Clint sat down with Tove and helped her make a character that worked with the setting, even though I told her the mechanics of how it worked. And we started playing, and for the next 20 years or so, off and on, we've always been playing together, no matter what setting we're in. And even when 4th edition came in, I will admit that I do not like 4th edition, but I will say it did a lot of good things for the hobby. It had a lot of good ideas, like with you brought up, Nate, the epic destinies and stuff. I thought that was a great idea, taking things from 20th to 30th level, and it made it more accessible, in my opinion, for a broader range of audience.
The other thing that Matt Kilville brought up on his YouTube channel and I feel it was good, is he actually showed like the simplification of like the way the rules were worded.
Yes.
He showed a 3.5 page that took up two columns.
Yes.
And then he showed the 4th edition thing, and it took up a half of one column of the page.
Yeah, 3.5 was very rules crunchy with all the splat books and everything. Now, if people know their history of D&D, when I first got involved in the aughts of 2000, 3.5 was in its first inception, its heyday. All these splat books were coming out, and you could, just the idea of what you could do with the character exploded. And sadly, the rules got really crunchy, really heavy. You had to have 5 books to tell you how to play one character. Yeah. So, in my opinion, that's what 4th edition did, was made it a lot simpler for a broader range.
Yeah.
A lot of people give 4th edition shit. I was one of them. But looking back on it, I maybe I was too critical.
Although 4th edition was very combat crunchy with its rules.
But roleplay comes with the people.
Hey everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We have another episode coming out next Wednesday. Please like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast and support us as we continue to level up and grow.